Hi, folks. Really pleased to have a fantastic guest with me here today. It is Terry Wilcock. Terry Wilcock, not only an author, you're an author now, Terry, but also very prominent behind the campaign to free Clive Freeman. So, we're going to talk about two or three things today. We're going to talk about your new book that's coming out or is out now, talk about what's happening with Clive Freeman, and also a bit about your past, which is also very interesting. So, let's kick off with the book Divine Intervention. How come you wrote this book, Terry?
Oh, by default, I was in prison at the time, and had a note put through the door one evening by a bent officer, I suppose, whilst we were all locked down for the night, and it were a message from another inmate in another part of the prison saying hello. For me to meet him on Tuesday evening in the creative writing class from 6 till 7. So we're totally by default. The tutor at the class did let us speak for a while, but we had to do some work. So he gave us a jotter and a pen and said he wanted to write us to write something creative. So I started writing, and from that, as a result of that, divine intervention was born.
Fantastic. So you're in the nick. I mean, it's great that so that they allow you to go out and do something like that and be creative. Were you writing it like every day?
Yes, I did actually. Well, that was the beginning. I think it was a couple of years later. I was writing it by hand every now and again, and then I get to Loudon Grange, which is a Category B prison, sorry, semi-security, well, high security. I got a job in the library,
Mhm.
cleaning.
Right.
And after my duties, there was a room in the back where you could do some open university courses.
Mhm.
Now, I didn't do one of those, but I'd sit in there and mess around on the keyboard.
Mhm.
Eventually, I was typing like 100 words a minute. I got
Really? So
quite good at it. Yeah.
You weren't like a one.
No. I could watch over there as I'm talking to you now and type away at the same speed I'm talking.
No, that's
Uh,
impressive. I mean, did you have any background in writing or anything? Was there anything in your family, or had you ever wanted to do this before?
no, none whatsoever. I mean, I left school early. Well, I was taken out of school and put into a community school, it was called at the time, but previously called a home for children who were unruly at school and couldn't conform.
Mhm.
So they put us in a place of up north, 100 miles away.
Right.
And so we had half education and half a trade. You picked a trade, I was only 14,
Mhm.
and I was painting and decorating. So I do half schooling and half trading. So yeah, no history of writing.
So now you're like an author, and they're thinking of possibly like of a TV series or a film about this particular book.
Yeah, there has been talk, and there is a screenplay called Greg Johnson, a writer, who's converting it into a six-part crime drama.
Right.
It's finished two series, and it reads very well.
So tell us about the plot. So I've got a few notes here. It's about Jerry Devine. So he's the kind of hero, and it's kind of set in sort of Costa del Sol and Amsterdam and stuff like that. So tell us a bit about the story.
Well, it's a professional criminal, a career criminal called Jerry Devine, who has a partner called Barry Stone, and between them, they're brought up young. They're stealing from an early age and doing things they shouldn't be doing, and they go away, get put away at a young age. Education, further education transpires from detention centres and bostels, and then they get up there and eventually they get it right and they become quite successful, committing serious crimes, robberies as such. Uh, but then things start going wrong. um, Jerry Devine is based in, like I say, in Spain on the Costa del Sol. He come back because Barry gets involved in a major drug deal, which goes wrong, and there's a shootout at South Mims service station, and ends up in Holland, and gets involved in a major diamond heist, which then will fund a bigger robbery in Gibraltar of a money transport in the airport. So yeah, there's lots of stuff happening at the same time. Actually, it took some keeping up with, but yeah, there's
That's
loads of
really
stuff. It is.
entertaining. Now, of course, we
It's a-
can't say that any of this you would have any knowledge about anyway, but maybe you had some ideas that sort of crossed over into the plot.
There are already questions being asked about how much of this book is
Mhm.
fact and how much of this book is fiction,
Mhm.
and yeah, the people, the places, the times, they are all true.
Mhm.
And I was there in those places, and there were people of ill repute, and I have been described previously as a professional criminal in court,
Mhm.
which didn't help the trial because I was found guilty. Um, and the prosecution labelled me a professional criminal on the very first day of the trial. Well, I didn't stand much chance after that,
Gotcha.
but we argued it, and the judge allowed it, but told him not to do it again. So yeah, I have been described as a professional criminal by the authorities.
Mhm. So, but nothing that occurred in the book has got anything to do with you whatsoever.
No,
Absolutely. So, if people want to buy this book, where can they get the book?
it's on Amazon. You can type my name in, Terry Wilcock, Divine Intervention. It comes up immediately.
And we are actually going to be giving away a copy of the book today. Are we going to do that just by like a random kind of raffle or something, aren't we?
Yeah, you just pick a name out of the hat. You stop it on the comments or whatever, and just we'll get the name and address, and I'll send the book to that party.
Fantastic. So now what I was going to say is that obviously you do have a past, and it'd be interesting to talk about your past, depending on how much you want to tell us about it. So where are you from, and did you have a rough upbringing?
I'm from Bradford in West Yorkshire. I was brought up on a council estate called Homewood, and yeah, some might say you were underprivileged and had a hard bite of the cherry being raised in Homewood in that area. But I must say that a lot of the people there weren't didn't take the path I took. A lot of the hard-working people and good people, and the area still has a soft spot. But there was a crowd of us, and we did set off down that route of committing petty crimes from a very, very early age. I think I was nine when I was first in the magistrates juvenile court. Sorry, so yeah, and it
Why do
followed
you
through.
think why do you think you went down that road?
I don't know. I mean, it could be that the people I was hanging round with, we were in a gang, and my two older brothers were also members of that same gang. And yeah, there's a lot to be said for that because my dad was a hard-working man,
Mhm.
and my mother too. And they were, you know, I I think it was hanging around with the wrong people
Mhm.
at that particular time, and there was not much opportunities for kids at that time neither.
Now, did you enjoy what you were doing? Was there a buzz to it?
Yeah, it were exciting at the time. There was a buzz.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, was it like it was sort of petty crime, robbery, that sort of stuff?
petty crimes, stealing cars, breaking into cars.
Mhm.
Um, Shame to say that it moved on to burglaries,
Mhm.
and then on from there.
Yeah,
So,
did
so
you ever sort of scared when you were taking part in these activities? Or was it just a high to do it?
no, I was never scared. No. I suppose it was the buzz, but it were also trying to get a few quid together to get things you couldn't have.
Yeah. So how did you sort of move on to that? Did it escalate, increase?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I was put into a community school, previously called an approved school, and then for that was just the start of the education into crime because everyone in there were all a similar age, from like 13 to 16. So they were all in there for either stealing, fighting, unconform. So it was just 200 youths round about 13, 14 year of age who'd all suffered or been involved and had problems. So it was then from there I got taken out of there and put in detention centre. From the detention centre I went back there and then I got out of there. Then I got back home. I got caught, went to Borstal and Borstal recall. Then I got 3 years and I got 18 months. Eventually I got one for 10 years, which is the one I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Uh,
What
I,
was it like though, those days being in a sort of Borstal and how difficult is it to sort of survive in there? I mean, is it mentally difficult for you?
It was a lot more violent in them days than what it is today because the authorities wouldn't get away with what they got away with at that particular time. There was a lot of there were well, everybody knows what there was. It's in the public domain. The violence and crime what went on, the assaults by the authorities,
Mhm.
the sex thing, what were going on at the time as well, still going on now, but it were more so then because they were getting away with it.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're all there, and it wasn't a nice place to be. So, um, the short, sharp shock,
Mhm.
it did work, and that's what it were like in those days. It was very violent.
Yeah, do you have, does it kind of come back to you a lot? Do you have bad memories about that sort of stuff?
No,
No, if you managed to move away mentally from that.
yeah, I don't think about it. I'm sure there are a lot who do, but I'm okay. I mean, I got out of prison this last one, this 10-year sentence. I was released in December 13.
Yes.
Um, I moved to Devon. I live in Devon now, and I've not committed a crime since then.
Do you what was it, so the big crime that you went in for, you did what, 10, 11 years, was it?
I got 10 years. I got 11 years. It was reduced to 10 because of the severity of the sentence for what I was in for. I was arrested. I pleaded not guilty. I had a 7-week trial. I got found guilty. I got 10 year for manufacturing, cultivating, should I say, cannabis.
Mhm. That seems a very extreme sentence for something like that.
It was a very long sentence for a cannabis farm, yeah. And like I say, I am appealing it. Funny enough, I met somebody in prison uh, after I've been in a few years.
Mhm.
He were in for 11 cannabis farms. I were in for one.
Yes.
He got 11. He got 11 years. As I got talking to him, it transpired that one of his farms was the one I was convicted of. So that's going to be an appeal point when I eventually get to my appeal. I am appealing.
Mhm.
Um, but it's my appeal's been put on the back burner whilst I've been appealing for Clive Freeman.
Yeah, which we will talk about. Yeah, just a moment. But what I don't understand with that sentence, that you've got people like Mike Tyson now who have cannabis farms and all, and they make their living out of it. So it seems so extreme what you got. Were you bitter about it? How did you cope with it all?
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't believe it because the cannabis farm I got convicted of and sentenced for never actually reaped a crop.
Right.
The plants were baby plants. It were and like I said, it wasn't my farm. I was involved in the property in the building,
Mhm.
and I had a good idea whose farm it was.
Mhm.
Um, but obviously I couldn't tell them what I thought because I pleaded not guilty and just run the trial, and I got found guilty.
Mhm. How difficult was it, your life in prison? I mean, I think normal people, they say, oh, somebody just went to prison, but the actual day to day, you're in there for 10 years. I mean, that must be horrendous.
No, I only served just over 5.5 years. You serve 50% of the sentence, and you serve 50% of it on license.
Mhm.
So I was visiting aftercare services, probation, on a weekly basis for years after being released.
Mhm.
And it went right up towards the back end before they put me on, I think, every 4 or 5 weeks. But so that's difficult too when you get out.
Yeah. Have you found it easy to adjust? I mean, obviously it's been 10 years or so to life outside.
I got outside and I moved down to Devon.
Mhm.
I took my wife was down here. She'd moved down previously, 6 months before my release, and with my two daughters and a grandchild, and they moved into where I live now. But my wife, unfortunately, and very sadly, died just 18 months after I was released.
Mhm.
Um, and I operate. Um, I have some properties which I rent rooms out for people who really emergency accommodation, which require help.
Yes.
And I rent rooms out to those type of people. It's very challenging at times, but that's what I do anyway.
One of the things that we're going to talk about today also is that you met Clive Freeman. Just to explain to viewers maybe who don't know who Clive Freeman is, although we have talked on this channel about him before, he's serving a life sentence in there. Tell us about Clive Freeman.
Well, I'll try and make it short because it is a long story.
Mhm.
But what happened was, I mean, I only got 6 months of a Cat D
Yes.
uh, during that sentence. So it was only my life, but usually it's 2.5 years, but I only got 6 months. And it was, so when I got, the nearest Cat D was Lay Hill
Mhm.
to where I was moving down to Devon. And even that was 100 miles away from where I was going to be living. And I used to see this guy walking around and he had a dictaphone.
Mhm.
But you had to be careful who you spoke to in or talked to in that prison because it was 85% were actual sex offenders.
Really? Oh, God.
Honest to God, I know it's awful.
Yeah.
You got to live with them. You got to eat with them.
Really?
Yeah, you got to sit in the library with them. Everywhere you went, they're there. You can't avoid them. They're everywhere.
Right.
So, I mean, I got talking to a QC, some property dealers. It was easy for me to find out who were right and who were wrong to spend my time with.
Mhm.
And one night I just slowed down behind this guy and I heard the South African accent.
Mhm.
So then I was sure it wasn't the guy. And he didn't want to engage because he was probably thinking the same thing I was thinking. But eventually he did when I sat beside him in the library. And that's how I actually met Clive Freeman.
Mhm.
And after that, we became friends. And like I say, I met a QC
Mhm.
in there. I used to train him in the gym.
Yes.
And one day I said to Clive, I think I might have someone in here who can help you, Clive. And he said, no, he said, I've had that many people try to help me.
Mhm.
He said, I've had enough prison lawyers to last a lifetime. And once they get out, they always leave you anyway,
Mhm.
forget about you. I said, yeah, but this is a QC.
Mhm.
He said, there's no QC in here, is there? I said, yeah, there's a QC in here. They
Mhm.
told me to keep it quiet.
Mhm.
I said, but he's come clean with me. That's what he actually is. I
Mhm.
said, he'd be like £700 an hour out there. We're going for nothing.
For people who don't know some of the background, so Clive Freeman was in prison for a murder that he was supposed to have committed, and he'd been in prison for how long has he been in
When
now?
I met him, 25 years.
Yes, and how long is it? It's over 40 years now. How many years is it
No,
now?
it's just coming up 37 years now he's been in prison.
And he could have got out of prison had he admitted, that he was guilty, but he's never going to do that, and he's now what in his 80s.
Yeah, he's in his 80s and he's got cancer. He's not well. He is deteriorating. He was given life sentence after being convicted with a tariff of 13 years.
Hmm.
So it could have been out 20, it could have been out 24 years ago if he had have took the courses and rehabilitation. But he refuses to do so because he isn't guilty and he will not admit to something, especially a murder that he hasn't committed.
And what's
Uh,
the thing about Birking? Was this supposedly how he was supposed to have killed the guy?
Yeah, Shepherd found some bruising. We have got some memos for the officer who was the lead investigator of this case. And one of the memos says Dickie Richard Shepered, the pathologist. We need to find something on this one. And another memo from her, which weren't disclosed. Dear Dickie, here with the article, as promised. Janet. Janet Carter was the officer leading the investigation, who was promoted after the conviction. But there's a lot of, and now we've got 9 eminent pathologists with almost 400 years worth of experience, 9 pathologists and other expert witnesses lining up with reports pro bono. Some of them done weeks and months of work, putting files and reports together, all dishing the way Richard Shepered gave his evidence and concocted the Birkin theory.
What is, for people who don't know, what is Birking? Is from Burke and Hare, isn't it?
Burke and Hare to Edinburgh, I think 1890s, to Edinburgh, guys who killed, I think, 12 people and sold their bodies to university for research.
Yes.
And how they did it was one would hold them down and the other would hold airways so that the victim died and there was very little, if any, signs of any ill doings. But yet Shepered found some bruises on the back after the 3rd post-mortem, of which there's no photographs, which a pathologist should have done, and said, oh, this is consistent with a heavy object, i.e. Clive Freeman, sitting, kneeling on the victim,
yes,
and until it died. You know, nothing to do with the alcohol he'd consumed or the drugs he'd taken.
Yes.
My conclusion now, after the memos or whatever, is the fact is Birking.
Yes. Yeah. And so Clive, why was he suddenly picked up and accused? But did he come back to do something to do with insurance? Was it life insurance or something?
No, it came back for some insurance. He was looking for a place to get his people, his family, out of Rhodesia.
Yes.
He was an enemy of the state. He'd been in the Grey Scouts. That's an elite army, horseback infantry, and he was fighting for his country. By doing so, he became an enemy of the state. He was involved in some private stuff he had to do for the government. A long story short, he left the country to find a better place for his family to live in safety.
Yes. And I think one of the most unfortunate things about this is has his wife passed away?
His wife's passed away, his mum's passed away, his dad's passed away, other close family members have passed away. He's got grandchildren in the late 20s he's never seen. He hasn't seen his daughters since 1988. He hasn't seen his 2 daughters. It's ridiculous. He's got nobody here, never has had anybody here. They wouldn't let him out of Zimbabwe to go and visit him. You know, the regime what was there at the time wouldn't allow it. And so he's been here by himself all those years. He has had other people helping him. But I made a promise to him when I left that I wouldn't stop until I secured his overturning his conviction. And that's what I've done. To my own detriment, but I give him my word, and I know that like he would give his word to me, he'd stand by it.
So how did you we cut your story short? How did you kind of develop your relationship? How did he start to trust you when you were inside?
He was a very clever, shrewd man, and he didn't suffer fools. And he was very much like me in a lot of ways. And I think people like us who can give your word, and it is a bond.
Yes.
You don't break it for anybody. You just seem to you just know, it's instinct. You just know someone's okay and genuine, even though we did in the beginning. We were still curious of each other until we were comfortable, and that just came with time.
The Daily Mail have done quite a lot about this this tragic case, haven't they? They've really got behind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's 6 or 7 articles in the Daily Mail.
Mhm.
You can go online and see those actually and read about it. In fact, you can go online and see a lot of what we've been doing with Clive Freeman just by typing a free Clive Freeman into your computer and click on it, and away you go. There's podcasts, yourself included, Sonia Polton, other people. There's lots of people behind us now, and I think we're so close to getting this conviction overturned
So he's had to,
before he dies.
yeah, but I mean, he's had to, and he's still living with, nonces and all
Yeah,
this horrendousness,
yeah,
and it's a
yeah,
real testament to the man that he will not admit to something that he didn't do, and he could have been out, he could have gone the easy way, and 20 years ago, come out, couldn't he?
yeah.
I
He
mean,
won't do it. A
rubbish.
lot of people would have, yeah, a lot of people would have bowed to the pressures and done what they want him to do to put this to bed, but he just won't. And I've actually dedicated my book
Yes,
to Clive Freeman, a
brilliant.
man of a man of integrity.
Yeah. What was it like for you? I mean, how many years did you spend with him inside?
Oh, I didn't spend that long with him. Like I says, I only actually got 6 months,
Hmm.
Cat D,
Yes.
and they moved me down from Yorkshire down to Gloucester,
Mhm.
and I only had 6 months to serve, and I met him within that 6 months. We
Yes.
created a bond
Mhm.
that has lasted till this day. And should Clive fail and still be refused justice
Mhm.
after Clive's gone, I will still continue.
Yeah, yeah. He needs his name clear. What was it like when you left him? Was there like a kind of a last goodbye when you were
Yeah,
transferred?
yeah, he had a load of boxes of personal stuff, which he asked me. This is how much he must have trusted me. He asked me to take them. It's stuff he'd been through the prison system with all those years,
Mhm.
and I've still got those boxes at home. And he he's only had, I think he's only had about. I picked him up on his first day release, which he had after, I think, 27 years or something. I picked him up. I took him to see some horses because he loves horses. He loves all animals,
Yeah, he used
but
to
horses
ride,
in
didn't
particular.
he? Yeah, he used to
Yeah.
ride, didn't he? He was into
Yeah,
that.
he was a jockey, and like he was in the horse infantry. He fought for his country on horseback. So I took him a day out to see some horses, which I remembered he'd asked me. He said one day, he said to me in prison, he said, "Do you know, Teddy?" He said, "One thing I'd love to do before I die." I said, "What's that, Clive?" He said, "I just want to hold a horse. I just want to put my head next to a horse. I want to smell it. I want to talk to it. Horses know what I'm going through."
Mhm.
And that's what I did for him on that day. And we've had probably, I don't know, 10 since that, 10-day releases. That's all he's had. He's not had a norm leave. He's not stopped away from prison. And I mean, we've got a group of us now working on his case. And when he gets out, I take him to the office and we work on his case. And we're all there trying to support
What's
him
it like
best way we can.
coming out the door when he walks out? I mean, if someone's been institutionalized for that period of time, is it difficult for him? How does he react
Yeah.
when he comes out?
He just wants to work on his case. Till his last breath, he'll be working on his case the best way. He's got a great memory, and we go to the office. We go to Tony's office in Western Supermare,
Mhm.
and we Professor Michael Norton,
Yes.
Aaron, who you know, and we're there trying to help him the best way we can.
Yeah, no, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so that we do want to very much promote your book. So it's an excellent read, isn't it, Terry?
Well, those that read it tell me they love it and they can't put it down. And I read it again. And don't forget, this were in a drawer for 10 years. When
Yes.
I got out of prison, I didn't do anything with it. And I got it to a publisher's, I think, about 3 months ago. And they've took it on and it's out there for sale now on Amazon and Kindle. And yeah, those that read it can't wait for the sequel and the prequel, which I'm gonna finish as well. I started those in prison too, but it were just in a transcript in a drawer for 10 years, so I'm quite excited about it.
Is it, how do you feel? Do you feel your life has completely changed now? You know, you do your property stuff and this, that, and the other. How are you feeling personally? This whole turnaround. Now you're an international author.
Well, I'm content. I mean, I'm content. When my wife died, I said I'm going to be, I'm not going back to prison.
Yeah.
I've got to be here now, play mum and dad
Mhm.
and granddad.
Mhm.
Uh, and, I just, I don't even think about crime anymore. I mean, that's a past life.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, folks, Divine Intervention by Terry Wilcock. You've got to go and get it. And we are giving one away, which is going to be like randomly chosen. I don't know who's going to choose it, but we'll sort something out. But well, you're the author. You've got to choose it, haven't you? You've got to choose. I'll send you the names
No,
through.
no, you can do it.
Yeah. So it's
You
going.
can do it. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see it?
Yeah, Icons dedicated to a man of honor and extraordinary integrity. Yeah, free Clive Freeman. Fantastic. Yeah, that's brilliant. So that's the dedication at the beginning of the book. So we do support here on this channel the release of Clive Freeman. So do look it up, folks. Type in, free Clive Freeman and, get behind the case because it is a huge miscarriage of justice. So,
Yes.
want to thank Terry for coming on the show. Get his book, Divine Intervention. It's a cracking read. I'm going to start. I say it's a cracking read. I'm going on all the reviews. I'm going to start reading it myself. So thanks very much, Terry, for coming on.
Yeah.
Forward to
Yeah.
speaking to you again soon and getting an update and free Clive Freeman.
Pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for having me.